Chapter 7 Power to the People. Sorry I'm late, Mason. I've just come back from giving a talk.
That is fine, Isabella. What was the talk about?
It was for World NGO Day, and I talked about how blockchain will change society.
Now, that does sound interesting. I wish I'd been there. Can you give me a quick summary?
Certainly. I won't bore you with the whole first half because it was about what blockchain is, how it establishes trust, and then about smart contracts. You taught me all of that stuff, so I'll jump forward to its uses.
I bet your audience expected it was all for transferring money, like Bitcoin.
Many did. So I first explained to them how any file can be turned into a hash, but this hash can't be turned back into the file. This could be a document, video recording, or map reference, or a software program. Then this hash can prove that the file existed and is identical to the one that created the hash. For example, imagine if when you were born, you got a birth certificate as a PDF file with the hash of that PDF file. And imagine if that hash was stored with your name on a blockchain when you were born. You would never have to pay for a copy of your birth certificate again, and nobody could ever accuse you of forging it.
And you could supply it to anyone to prove the details, even over the internet. That would save a lot of trouble.
That is the power of the blockchain, using technology instead of governments, institutions, or corporations for trust, and putting the ownership of everything back in the hands of the people. Adding the power of key pair cryptography means title deeds, qualifications, business registrations, even creative things like music or software programs can now be controlled by an individual with their password. And because the blockchain is decentralized, no authority or other entity can prohibit them transferring these assets. Decentralized simply means two people can transact together directly instead of going through a central third party.
So, you get all the benefits that we pay governments and institutions for, but don't have to lose control of your assets for those benefits. I can see that being very popular. Asset management and transfer services are a very large part of our economy.
But there's more. Previously, sharing data with the public meant exposing your database to risk, or at least to being overloaded. But with blockchain being secure and distributed, exposing data and being transparent about transactions is now automatic and secure. This can change so many things. You once told me the example of a charity that worked like this. But it could be done for whole governments just as easily. This would make corruption easy to spot. And people could also discover other ways their taxes might be wasted.
I imagine it would be very hard for charities or even governments to not share their spending information when they no longer have the excuse of it being too hard or risky.
Exactly. And it's not just money. When you buy paper from a sustainable forest, how do you know if they only owned a little bit of sustainable forest, then bulked out their paper from native rainforests?
Certifying bodies check the number of trees and the amount of paper sold, but there is always a lot of room to move and suspicion.
With blockchain, each tree that is planted can get its own address on the blockchain. Then when it is cut down, shipped, pulped, and turned into paper, each of the events can get recorded to that address. Nothing can be faked and the history can't be changed because blockchain records can't ever be edited. This can be done with anything that is produced or changes hands. You could look at a blockchain to see the whole history of a car before you bought it. This evidence of history, particularly ownership history, is called chain of custody.
That would be great, but you'd have to make sure all the businesses that have contact with the car update the car's blockchain address.
True. But because blockchain is distributed, always running, and can be cheap to write to, this is easy to do. The same accounting package that prints the invoice for the service could just attach a hash of the invoice to the car's address automatically. Once the software is written, there is no extra work to do, but so much better information.
This is really incredible, Isabella. I can see why you think it can change society.
And that's just some of the things you can do before we include smart contracts. Even basic smart contracts could quickly take over from businesses that provide escrow services, futures bonds, and other functions. But smart contracts can be as complex as any other software program. Have you heard about blockchain code libraries?
A little. I think they're like the collections of functions or even more complex objects that many programming languages have available.
That's right. But these ones can't be hacked. Once you've checked it and are sure you want to include it in your code, you can just call that function at a blockchain address. And you know that it will always do what it promises. Never ever hacked. This means you can build and use huge libraries of code. A voting library, a group approval or auditing library, and accounts payment or tax payment libraries.
Are you saying that once you have a library on the blockchain, anyone can reuse that code by referring to it from the code at their own address?
Yes, but not just that. As an organization finds a better way to manage any part of what it does, even if it is a government, other organizations can just adopt that better system. And even choosing which new system to adopt can be managed by consensus without a central authority. Imagine companies and governments running not by following laws and rules, but automatically by executing the best coded solutions.
That sounds a bit scary. I'd want to make sure the code was good.
That's my whole point. The code is transparent, so anyone can check that it is good. And the code can't be hacked, so once checked, it stays good. And by specifying laws and rules as code, you have to think very clearly about what you want to achieve. And better than current laws, this code is applied equally to the rich and the poor, regardless of things that might be used to discriminate against them.
You make it sound like a whole new world where everyone benefits.
I know. Think about it like this. Everyone knows honesty is better than lying. Being unable to change records on a blockchain and having public access to them is like always telling the truth. And everyone wants to be treated the same. Decisions being written into code ensures that everyone is treated the same. And people want control over their lives. They want a say. Blockchain, through smart contracts, provides that opportunity. And if linked to identification services on the blockchain, it can be done very fairly. And finally, people don't want to have to trust the promises or personalities of central authorities. Instead, they can trust the code that implements what they all agree on is fair.
That is a lot of use cases. Let me see if I have this right. The basic blockchain provides a secure log or record. This can be used for identity management, proof of ownership, and proof of creation. Then, if the power of key pairs is added, the blockchain can be used for cryptocurrencies, asset transfer, and other anonymous interactions. Being able to run programs by including a Turing-complete virtual machine, we also get the benefits of escrow services or paying for physical access. But by using code libraries for tokens, we can create ICOs and token economies, or a code library for businesses enables DOAs or even distributed autonomous government, and there's so much more. I don't think either big organizations or governments will want to let go of their power, though. They'll never give you permission.
True. Something like this would once have required not just permission, but the authority and support of these centralized organizations. That's because everything depends on trust. But with blockchain, the requirement for trust in people or institutions has been exchanged for the requirement to trust the code. We no longer need permission to start a better system or to use better systems that others started. Nobody asked for permission to start Bitcoin or to use it. This is how it will be with other distributed autonomous organizations. They will just start, be more reliable, efficient, transparent, and profitable. Naturally, others will want those benefits, and it will grow.
You are very convincing, Isabella, and I think you may be right. Time will tell us for certain.
Q&A section. Question 1. What is the benefit of turning a file into a hash? A. To create a unique number that proves the file was its origin. B. To timestamp a file in a way that is not able to be removed. C. To add a watermark to a digital file to prove ownership. D. All of the above.
A. Though the number isn't quite unique, just reproducing it with a similar but different file is impossible.
Oh, my mistake. But the chances of randomly creating two identical hashes are so low, most people talk about them like they are unique. Question 2. What is a chain of custody? A. The chain that is used to secure people being held in custody. B. The record of ownership which logs an item's history. C. The registrar that records who owns which blockchains. D. The way a key pair is used in combination with a hash to prove custody of an asset.
B. The record of an item's history. I think this is one of the best uses of blockchain technology. Most other solutions to this problem require many external organizations to all have access to a centralized database.
Correct. And customers who want to review the chain of custody don't need to ask a central authority for access. So if something goes wrong, nobody can cover it up. Question 3. What is a blockchain code library? A. An online website that lends out documents that contain code used to build blockchains. B. A library built on blockchain technology where books are checked in and out by updating their address. C. A service that checks code for errors or bugs before letting users risk the blockchain by adding it to their address. D. A concept that refers to blocks of code stored on the blockchain which are generic enough for reuse.
D. Blocks of code stored at addresses on a blockchain. I hadn't realized how powerful this could be.
It is only powerful if you're smart about the way you write your code and can be certain you understand other people's code as well.